Today on Why I Rise, we're kind of promoting from within. We're doing something. We're bringing in. Actually, the reason Why I Rise, one of the two reasons why I Rise exists. We're bringing in our managing director of the Parkinson's Wellness Fund. This is Amy Meyerowitz, everybody. She actually is the first person. She's actually the first person I met at the Wellness Fund. I was kind of lost at the event that was being thrown, and I was just looking around, and I didn't ask anyone to help. And I saw this kind of pretty woman, and I said, "Oh, I think I'll ask her for help." And Jam, she took my hand, and I went, "Oh, this is great." And then it turns out that she's Russell's wife. So, Amy, I'm so glad
What's
to
that
talk to
song?
you
All the good
about
ones are taken.
what
I
you
think
do.
I knew who you were. Maybe you didn't know who I was.
I just saw the shirt. You had the shirt on, so I go, okay, she's one of us, but I had no idea that you were Russell's wife.
Yes, Russell's
That's
wife.
great.
That is me.
That's right. You are Amy.
She will never
Well,
go by that
what you did is you
moniker.
brought me to Russell because I asked you to. I
Yep.
said, it's Russell Myers. She goes, come on, I'll introduce you. And I was like, oh, I thought you were just a helping hand. She's like my boss. So
Hardly.
anyway,
Hardly. That's a big title.
anyway, we got some perspectives, JM, that we can tap Amy for. She has been caring for her father-in-law along with Russell and the foundation, and she's got life experiences as well that helps that she's battles she's overcome that she can inspire others to. So
Well, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yep.
yes, yes, Jim.
Okay.
You were good.
Well, with both of those points, I mean, whether she was thrust into this unwilling, or whether from past experience, she had the ability to do this. She's amazing because when I was introduced to them, it was literally a sheet of paper and it said, fill this out, send it to these guys, and they'll call you back. And I'm like, sure they will.
Yeah,
And
right.
all of a sudden, this lady called and she goes, "Hi, I'm Amy from I understand you wanted to get some boxing lessons, and we've got this set up for you, and here's how it's going to work." I was like, "Oh, fantastic!" I thought she was like a coordinator at the facility.
How
I didn't know if it
Same
was
thing,
1,000
right?
people there or 3 people there. But then I got to know them, and then the coolest thing is I think Amy called me back and goes, "Would you be interested in doing an interview with us? On your experience?" And I'm like, "Sure," because I'll talk to the wall if it gives me a chance to talk. And so sure enough, this guy showed up, good looking kid, on a motorcycle. And I'm like, okay, what's going on with this? This guy's showing up, the cameraman is showing up with the lights and the camera on a backpack
too funny.
on his motorcycle. And I said, and I am a production guy for 30 years, and I
Right?
usually have 50 people running around. This guy's like, I go, do you need any help? He goes, nope, got it. And that interview, I've had people call me and say the interview looks so good.
It does.
And
Amazing.
and Paul from Warner's even called me up and said, "Wow, I mean, your interviews always look great, including this one." I was like, "Wow, thank you very much." But it was just me talking, and this interview went just viral, and everybody started to see it, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool." And then I got to know them. They invited me to the golf tournament, and then one of the first people I met was Amy because she was right there, and I was just like, "This is so warm and welcoming," because it's not a big Kaiser building or a big, United Health building. It's the soul of somebody's personality that loves to give and do for people, and that's who Russell and Amy are. But Amy is like, and Russell, I think, has to be out front being the good cop, if you will. I mean, the bad cop, and she gets to be the good cop. You know what I mean? Or he's the battering ram, and she's the army behind him. So they work well as a tandem, and they work well as individuals. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. That was quite an introduction. I really, really appreciate this. I guess this is very cool full circle moment. I think it is really special to one when I met you at the golf tournament that first year face to face. There's not many times that I get that opportunity where I'm meeting someone in person that I've helped through a grant. So I really and then now to come, I don't know how many years later. I don't know when that was. Sorry, my time frame's very off. But
Well,
how many
it's
years
at least
later?
3 golf tournaments ago.
It was
So that'll be
3.
at least 3 years ago.
Yeah, at least 3. Right.
Right.
So, and yeah, I'm loving, again, this full circle moment. Vinny, definitely remember meeting you distinctly at the golf tournament and say, oh, you're Vinny. And it's just, again, a really special opportunity to be able to put a face to the grant, we'll say. And yeah, I guess you ask and I'll tell.
You got it.
You want to go, Jay?
No, go ahead, man. You seem lined up. I'm ready to go too, but
Well,
just straight up.
this is what I've been thinking about. I know Amy's had experiences, obviously with Parkinson's, as we all do, but also you had an incident with Alzheimer's, and what I've been thinking about lately is we're talking about why I rise, and we target Parkinson's patients. But I recently, very minor. I've got a nerve problem in my hip, and now I'm walking with a cane, which I've never done. And you know, uh, I think it's a mindset you need, whether you have Parkinson's or not. It's nice to start with Parkinson's, but there's this mindset, and I've been talking to a lot of people who believe in like Eastern medicine and Eastern, meditation and stuff, and they're saying Americans don't prepare themselves for that type of catastrophe.
Right.
They just we walk in and say, oh my God, I have this. Oh my God, I have that. Where I'm being told other countries kind of prep as you're going to get older, you're going to have different kinds of challenges. So, Amy, would you say if you're talking to me about my hip, or you're talking to Jam about Parkinson's, or you're talking to somebody because you have experience with Alzheimer's, obviously compassion is in there, but is there a way you deal differently with the different maladies?
So I wouldn't say deal differently with different maladies. I think that it's a great question. I think that there's these small things that I think make a big perspective and shift change. When I am contacting individuals either who are living with Parkinson's or who are helping to treat people with Parkinson's, I say that, people with Parkinson's. I very rarely use the word disease. I very rarely use the word patient. For me, preferably, I like to kind of broaden the spectrum of who that person is and not really pigeonhole them into this, what sounds like kind of a daunting, if you will, negative verbiage. So, and compassion, 100%. I say, like, I'm either the worst or best person for the job that I do. I'm the lead case manager, and I really deal with people in crisis. What started off, I'll say, as our intention to be in wellness and to provide individuals with more wellness type services, acupuncture, more preventative care, more
Yes.
overall holistic, looking at the person as the whole, not just their one Parkinson's diagnosis, but really like what they're going through, unfortunately has really turned into crisis management. So to touch on a couple things that you asked about, I can't speak on other countries and how they deal with their medical institute. I do know, I feel what we're dealing with now is very crisis based. A person has an injury, a person has a diagnosis, and then we're dealing with it. So I do think you're accurate in that, and I think that there could be a shift and change. And I think, sorry to ramble, that there is
No.
for both of that. I think that we can, once we get out of this crisis mode, or before we've gotten into this crisis mode, we really can deal with wellness more so. But the crisis is really loud right now for the individuals that are applying to us. Their tone of when they're coming to me for their needs and their desires is desperate. Whereas before it kind of started massages and acupuncture and physical therapy, it's now like, I don't have money for food at the end of the month. I don't have, my lights are going to be turned off because I have Parkinson's, because the medication costs so much. So I would say that I think we do need to approach ourselves and our health more preventatively, more holistically, to negate the crisis situation. And then once crisis hits, I think more focus needs to be put into that actual relief. I hope I answered.
Yeah.
No, I was going to jump in here because one of the things that I heard, you hear many things early on when you get diagnosed. Oh, it's a death sentence. Oh, blah 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 blah. But it's a slow grind. what was beautifully said about Alzheimer's is a long goodbye.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like, hey, well, I'm walking with my bags. I can still look back and see it. Then one day I turn, and then it's oblivion, you know.
Mm.
But the one that really struck me, because ironically, I think, you know, and we could go on for hours about how I think anxiety really is one of the most detrimental things to the human body, let alone the ability to, you know, cope with it, but also the ability to not have it in your life. Because I think mine was a life of anxiety. But somebody once said to me, you know, Parkinson's is the disease that bankrupts families.
Mm.
And I thought that's so true, because I used to look at the copays for a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a neurosurgeon, and excuse me,
Neurologist and
neurologist. Thank you. But the word I'm looking for is a motion specialist.
sure.
Then you got your regular doctor. Then you got a hearing, and everything
So
costs
fragmented.
way more when you're making way less.
Yeah.
It's like we don't set ourselves up with humanity to ramp down.
Right.
We're a country that goes, what, you hit 72? Later.
Right. We also
And,
have
and,
this
and
grand idea that we retire, that we work, and then we retire, and then it's just like beaches and bingo and all of this, and it's really not the reality that most people face. And I think a shift in perspective and a shift. You know, my father-in-law, his biggest thing when we were getting married, we're 24 years old, and he said get not life insurance, get the oh my
whole life,
goodness, I'm butchering this.
whole life, or
Whole life type of, because it's essentially what really helped float so many people. You get this diagnosis when you're not ready for it financially, you're not ready for this, and you need a cushion. And it's at 24 years old that was introduced to me as something somewhat preventative to do to help set yourself up, so that when something comes in and throws a spoke to the wheel, you're like, oh, I have a little bit of breathing room. This is a luxury, though. A lot of people don't even have the luxury to be able to put that money aside every month to do that. It costs a lot of money, and you hope to never, you know, dip into it, but when you do, it can help. But I will say also, if I can just go back to the mental state, and easier said than done, right? But I have seen that mentally, and the mental state that an individual's in and how they are going to meet their diagnosis head on is a game changer. My father-in-law being one of the best examples for this is, God bless him, a super stubborn Leo. And in this regard, it has served him and everyone else around him so well, because he just will, he takes this thing head on. He's like, you are not going to take me down. And let me tell you, 20 years later, this man's astounding. Again,
Right.
easier said than done, easier said than done. And a lot of people don't have the supports or the crutches or the safety nets for many, you know, reasonable reasons. But I think those little changes in verbiage and perspective and positive outlook, really, not to sound corny, really do have like a major impact overall in how a person's going to progress and how they deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So sorry again.
no, don't worry about it. Please don't censor yourself. Do not censor yourself.
Again, what our whole mission and intention was originally was to prove that an individual can live a good life with Parkinson's. And what they need to do so is they need to have access to these different products and services that allow them that. You look at a celebrity individual who is dealing with the same disease, and they can go to they can have their massages, they can have their nutrition, they can have their everything. They pack their tool, but they've got the access to their tools all the time to walk around with them, and it makes a massive difference. And everybody should have this accessibility, and Parkinson's can be a very different story if and when people have the access to these different products and services. And that's really been our, and still is, our main focus and our true core belief that drives us forward, is that it's not a write-off and it doesn't have to be at the end. Yeah.
Let me interject this, because I've got parents, we all have parents, but I've got parents. First of all, let me back up. Aubrey, who's your father-in-law that you're talking about, is an astounding guy.
Astounding.
The first year that I showed up to the golf tournament, Russell said, hey, maybe you can come and speak. And I said, all right, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And so I'm on the golf course, super prepared, JM, writing notes on the 17th hole going, will this joke work? Will this joke work? And I get there and I just realized that these people don't know me from Adam. What am I going to talk about? Whatever I talked about touched a lot of nerves because a lot of women came up to me and were like hugging me and a lot of guys were saying, I really appreciate what you said. And I couldn't remember half of what I said, but all of a sudden this entourage of people come up with this guy and he sits down in the chair and I realized this is Aubrey. Aubrey came across the room to talk. He wanted to talk to me.
Of course.
And I was like, dude, you're the reason this golf tournament exists. I mean, you're the celebrity here. And we started chatting and then 5 guys standing behind me like this going, we got to go. We got to get back to San Diego. We got to go. And now Aubrey's like, oh, don't worry about them. Just keep going. Keep telling me. So every year that he would see me, your mother-in-law, and he would stop and talk to me. And it's great because he's somebody that is not afraid to talk about what he's gone through. He's gone through a lot of stuff with, medications and some of the darker sides of medication. But he doesn't mind telling you, this is what you can do and this is how you can do it. And again, as much as I think modern medicine and research is going to help us, I think people that have the ability to progress their lives now differently will be the reason to find either what is a cure or a way to deal with this disease, knowing that it will never go away, but you can live a quality life. Because I'm struggling with that right now is what's my choice? My wife's like, are you going to run? Are you going to walk? What are you going to do? I'm falling now more than ever. And, and so I'm terrified that I'm going to be in a walker, then it'll be a wheelchair, then it'll be whatever. But then there's days that I'm out there and I'm like having a good time and I'm walking around and I realize this one thing, because you talked about mental, is I had a coach years ago say, lay down and pretend like you're looking up at the sky, but the sky is, in your mind, you want to black everything out. The only thing that you can see are clouds. And every time a cloud goes by, that's a thought. And you acknowledge that thought and you let it go. And the idea is to eventually get to the point where there's hardly any thoughts. But what I've noticed is that when there's something that's super entertaining to me, whether it be a baseball game or a game I'm playing in, or being with my wife and holding hands or whatever, just whatever the small talk is, as long as I'm not thinking about Parkinson's, Parkinson's seems to be at bay. So the question is, how do you stay in that way of living without necessarily where you're sitting in a chair meditating 24 hours a day?
Right.
Or and my wife is a huge proponent of diet. I mean, she's battled cancer a couple of times and she's now gone on these incredible journeys, and which, she doesn't necessarily like me talking about her on any format, which I've done in the past. But the idea was she did something so radical that it changed the kind of her body, not only physically, but her mind mentally, and her ability to see, and to see clarity. And she's like, listen, realize that the best medicine, and I tell this to people, and then I'm hypocritical because I don't necessarily do it religiously yet. Pay attention to what you eat. Pay attention to gluten. Pay attention to sugar. To the best of my understanding, Parkinson's is an inflammatory disease. I mean, it's basically, if you're inflamed, your body is susceptible to a lot of things.
Sure. So
just don't eat things that are, if you have a bowl of ice cream and at the end you got phlegm, you're allergic to ice cream. Doesn't mean it's an allergy where you're going to shut down, but it just means that your body's going, whoa, what's all this ice cream?
Right.
Or what's all this sugar? JM, you're eating a bag of Skittles. What the hell is this?
Sure.
I mean, I used to joke, like it was funny, like I had so much candy in my office back in the production days, I'd be like, I am to candy as an addict is to heroin. And I was serious about it. I wasn't joking. Maybe that was a cry for help, but I was like, I'm consuming boxes of Laffy Taffy, boxes of Skittles, boxes of, taffy. Oh, I love saltwater taffy. I just love it.
Noted.
Oh, hang on. I'm going to shut that window because this guy's doing something outside. Hang on.
Sure.
Well, Amy, the whole reason is to try to project a positive attitude. JM and I said we're going to have serious talks the way we always do and pepper it with uplifting comments. Not just to be uplifting, because we always joke. Sure. And that's always our personality. Where we'd be about to go into a meeting and I'm Mr. Confidence and Jam will go, your tie's undone. All of a sudden I open up the door and I'm doing that. We just mess around with each other.
Sure.
So, that's why it's like why I rise. This is the part. You said, not to be corny, Power of Positive Thinking. That's like a 50 or 60-year-old book.
Sure. I got it.
there's something there.
So I think
And
I think there's a duality. I think that there's also toxic positivity, and there's a lot of healing going on
yeah,
in the world right now. I think a lot of people, a very big focus of a lot of people is really mental. I think for the good and for the bad, I think sometimes it can go either way. But I think that there's really a duality. I think that sitting in a situation and saying like, this is really hard, and feeling it and knowing it and acknowledging it. I think there's also a lot of power to that than just brushing it away and trying to say, no, it's fine. It could be a lot worse. It could, which I tend to do. I kind of try to like, make it better because it could be so much worse. I think there's a time and a place for everything, and I think there's a duality for everything. So if we're talking about the mental state, I think that there's times and places to hold space for both of them simultaneously. To say that dealing with a diagnosis, is either a blessing or a curse, whatever it is, you can make of it what you want and what's going to work for you. But at the same time, like, both things really do exist, and both things really do deserve their space to like live and be acknowledged. And then you can move on to try to be proactive if that's where you're able to go. Again, a lot of people that I'm dealing with, like, that's a luxury for them. They don't really have this time and space to be able to focus on something else or how to make this better. Like, their medication is costing so much money that they can't afford food at the end of the month. So I think that, again, there's a time and a space for everything. And I think that my conversation would be directed differently to each person that I'm speaking to. The person that's asking me for massages at the beginning of the diagnosis would be a very different approach. And the person who is telling me their lights are going to be shut off and they don't, and their medical bills have been sent to collections. So again, I think while acknowledging the reality of it and then really having a hope base, productive base of like where we can go and what actually we can tangibly do with this. And again, just going to plug Parkinson's Wellness Fund. To me, that's the beauty of this model, is that one, we can meet you wherever you are, and two, there's a proactive action that we can take for you to help you through to the next day, to take that next step, literally, figuratively.
right.
So yeah.
Jim, you were raising your hand.
I was raising my hand saying, "How do I get the massage?"
You know what? Go to our online.
I did not know that was available, nor did I know that an electric bike was available. And I was like, wait a minute. But
we meet you where you are.
I'm on the inside. That would be insider trading, so I can't. I mean,
Right,
I'm part. I feel like I'm part of the organization.
You know what? Maybe come to the golf tournament, pitch a couple guys, do your own private. Hey, I need an electric bike. No, just kidding. No, our online application. Go to our online application,
Yes.
Parkinsons.org, and
And by the way, make it very clear.
Like, some people need food. It's and we cover the wide spectrum, and it's what each individual needs, and it's going to be so different for everybody. And I think that's what's just really hope based for how and where we serve people that are dealing with this diagnosis.
Well, I just want to make sure that people perfectly understand that you do not pay anything. You do not have to give them a down payment. You don't have to give them a good in faith donation. They're not asking you, the patient, for money.
We don't need an organ.
Or you, the caregiver. Yeah, exactly. It's literally like, hey, what do you need? Okay, I need an electric bike. Okay, I live on top of a hill. This is the only place I can live. I can afford. I got to ride my bike down. That's not a problem. But getting my bike up with Parkinson's, and now with just the hill alone, it's so hard to do it. Well, I'm making this up, of course. But the point is that once PWF can put a donor to a cause, bingo. It's like there's your synapse, there's your explosion, your spark plug, and that builds a world. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, is as you help people like, I'm a different case because I've stuck around, because my ego lets me do a podcast with you guys, or lets me speak at the golf tournament, or lets me be at whatever. I wish that there was more community-based stuff, and that's a burden that you guys really can't do. Even if you were in California, or if you did one in Atlanta, California, wherever, Arizona, whatever it may be, the fact is that people need to understand that they have to build a community or be a part of a community And I think that they're reluctant to do that mainly because maybe the way they look, the way they feel, the way they move, they're afraid of falling, all the things that bring shame to you, perceived shame,
Sure.
because my boss said to me the other day, we were talking about my health, and I just said, he goes, a lot of people, everybody has something, Jay, and when they come to the game, they have something. They might be dealing with a back problem, Vinny, out of a job, whatever they're dealing with. He said, your thing is Parkinson's, and that's just what you happen to have to be dealing with
Mm,
along with the rest of your life. And it was so eloquently put, I didn't do it any justice, but the point he was making is stop worrying because the worry is killing you as much as anything else. And that's my opinion, not his. He didn't say that,
sure.
but I understood it as well. People, and again, I think the one that I spoke at, which is on your website 2 golf tournaments ago, I spoke about friends and the importance of friendship and the importance of having as many friends as possible as you get older. Because I think people think, well, if I got one good buddy, and that's true, if you got one good buddy, you're blessed. But you're also going to need people that are going to have to give your caregivers, children, spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends, cousins, whatever it may be. They're all going to be tasked when they ask for something when they can, and if they can't do it, then that's one less family member. But you can pull in a friend. Like a friend might drive you to the airport. He doesn't give a shit about anything else, but he's like,
Right.
but I ain't picking you up because I'm going to be somewhere on Thursday, so you got to get. And you're like, oh, I'll take the ride down. I
Community.
mean,
It's community and support. Yeah. Vital.
you, you show up hat in hand and you hope that somebody is going to go, hey man, here's a ticket for the bus, or let me get you. And my friends have done that in huge amounts. I mean, I think when we had that tournament, they were a number of 10 or 12 people that were there just for me.
Mhm.
And that just blew my mind. And if you see in the video, I come off and I give Russell a hug, and I was just like ready to cry because I was just like, that's the beauty of that community. The the other JM, JMP is it, or JMD?
Yeah, Josh Moravich. Yeah.
That guy is amazing. He's been an incredible sponsor for this year. I mean, the people that show up and know why they're showing up and why they're laying out a nice donation for the group is
Right.
one of the best things I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of golf tournaments for charity as well as for schools and for different particular groups. And this one is run so well, and the food, by the way, is so good.
Always on.
I will
GOOD,
tell the
capital
caterer.
letters.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think.
Please tell the caterer that.
Yeah.
That and my favorite guy, because he always has a thing where you hit the ball off the resuscitation dummy's mouth.
Right. Jason.
He's funny
Oh
because
no, no, no. You're
everybody by that,
talking about Yitzi. Yes, the CPR.
yeah, and he sells the for donation. He sells a little go kits or like emergency bags.
Yeah.
That's something I would have never thought of. I would have
Yeah.
never thought of. And I've run like 5 different golf tournaments. I never thought about having a medic alert type person there to tell you, because any information somebody who is isolated or somebody who is shut in, if you will, don't have a car, don't have gas for the car, like you're talking about. Yeah, I have a car, but I can't put any gas in it because gas is now $7 a gallon.
Right.
I mean, people talk, it's sort of like the fringe people. And what's funny is that I was once, I'm closer to the fringe people financially and economically than I ever was when I was working and had my own production company and living high on the hog. And so the idea is you need to pay attention to what's going on both sides, because you're going to bounce in between them sometime in your life. And whether it's going to be a diagnosis that changes your life, both mentally, physically, and emotionally, or you're going to have, I say both, and then I said 3 things, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. Strike the both in there, JT. Yeah. But, the idea that you're only insulated as far as your money will take you. And
Well, I want to jump in on that. I think there's something I've been dealing with recently that I'll get back around to. Jam, I think you have 12 guys, 15 guys. People ask you to speak. You are welcoming, and you are out there with your Parkinson's, meaning you aren't hiding it, or you're almost. What attracted me to come and do this with you was your sense of humor about
Mhm.
what you were going through. Amy would be talking, and he'd go, I shouldn't pour this next glass of water. I got to wait a couple of seconds. You're saying that his hand was shaking, and he would joke about it. And I think that opens people like your friends to go, let's go hang with Jim. He's a great guy, and
Right.
Parkinson's becomes kind of secondary to, hey, we're hanging out with JM.
Right.
Uh,
It doesn't make the person feel so fragile, and it doesn't make people want to, it doesn't make people feel like they have to walk on eggshells. It just like, it is what it is. You have
right.
lifelong friends who know you before this. And really, yeah, I think to hit on what you were saying, community and support base is massive and huge. And I think the isolation can also do a lot of damage to individuals. That it's not, there are so many resources that we've come across, so many beautiful, amazing people and resources that are free, that don't cost much, that are Zoom based. You can do it all over the country. I think it's asking people to, which is a big ask sometimes, to come out and one, be open about their position, where they are at, and two, ask. And again, not easy things, but I do want to reassure that they are out there. There's pep4u.com. You can find like so many classes, so many Zoom support groups, really just wonderful resources. And again, I think just knowing that there really is a lot to do to help yourself or help an individual with this, to live a good life for, many, 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 many years with it. And it really does, and it doesn't cost millions. Like, there's some efforts that are being put out there for cures or medication, and those cost millions. And like, who, it would be our golf tournament is great, right? It's growing, and our donations are always coming in. To be very honest, it would be a drop in the bucket if we were trying to solve one type of problem for this. If we were looking for a cure, it would be a drop in a bucket of I don't even know what. But because we have like this very practical, tangible model that really gives access to just everyday products and services, I think, again, I'll just repeat myself, there's a lot of hope in that. There's a lot of hope, there's a lot of comfort, and there's a lot of support. There's a lot of support that comes through to knowing that there's something that can be obtained tomorrow. If you call me and you need a wheelchair because you haven't been able to go out to the mall with your friends or to lunch because it's difficult for you to walk even with your walker, you've had a walker, now you need a wheelchair, like, you can get that wheelchair in 5 days. And I did this a couple months ago for an individual, a man, very, very, very tall man who needed a very specific walker. And he hadn't been out with his friends in months and months and months. His wife was able to drop him off with his friends. He walked around the mall for hours. She messaged me. She said, he hasn't done that in years. That's something like, that's a walker that cost a few $100s. And it changed so much for him, his wife, the friends. Again, to like really focus on those practical, immediate, not massive things that can make such a huge difference. A difference is like, for me, just what drives me. I think that's what really like just sparks and drives me so much more than thinking like, oh my gosh, there's this massive hill to climb up that like, how are we ever going to do that? It's like, no, literally our next step up that hill is super achievable, and it's super financially affordable for so many people to make a donation that would cover the cost of these seemingly small items.
Let me interject something here, and I want to say this because, check me up, Amy, if I'm wrong, because I don't want this to sound like I'm mad or angry or it's demented or it's just like,
No.
all I hear is big pharma this, big pharma that. We all have to take medication. All of us take medication, and I will tell you, my medication works. It doesn't work. Granted, this dyskinesia, this stuff, this movement that I have is not because of the disease. It's because of the medication. Mm-hmm. But if you research it, it's a lot of work for these guys to try to figure out what creates that dopamine infusion that fires off, the neurons and allows you to do things normally. Mm-hmm. But any drug is not necessarily like, anytime you replace something with not the same kind, then you basically have a side effect or a difference in the way things work. What I don't understand is Parkinson's Wellness Fund is not going, hey, we want to eliminate big pharma, we want to eliminate this, we want to eliminate that. No, what they're saying is for a 1/38th of your lunch budget for this year, AbbVie or whoever it may be, why can't you make a donation to help us keep people going? Because your whole atmosphere is to keep people going. It's not really a cure. We don't have a cure, so it's not like they're going to go, oh, we cured JM, that's knock him off the books. We got to find something. It's like people make it seem like they're so demonic, like they're just sitting there looking for ways to keep people at bay and just taking medication. And I don't believe that's the truth. I don't believe that they're all monsters. Yet, you had what had happened in New York City with the kid shooting the CEO of a hospital chain or something like that because of the bills.
Yeah.
And people applauding it. People going, oh, that's fantastic. I'm like, oh my God, that's horrific.
No.
But I understand the frustration. I can see the frustration. But I think the end result, two wrongs don't make a right. But the idea is, why is it such a struggle for these companies to look backwards and go, hey, we can support you guys with, here's 1,000 wheelchairs. We'll just donate them to you. Because that's going to be just a write down off of our books. And I've had conversations with people like asking them to be sponsors of golf tournaments, and they've said to me flat out, we can't do that because we can't look like we're promoting these drugs. Yet I go, every freaking commercial on television is promoting drugs.
Right.
I don't mean drugs, illegal drugs. I mean wellness drugs.
Right.
And so when Russell came to me the first time and said, look, we're not about finding a cure. He said, we're finding about something you can do today. Like, I'm sitting here in my new community going, I wonder if they have a softball league for people that are older, because I'm only 60, but at the same time, I'm not is the same guy I was 5 years ago, let alone 3 years ago, to play softball. But I'm wondering if they have an adult, like senior league, where it's not like where I might look good for a couple of years, because it's always about my ego, right? Like, who's that star first baseman that showed up? Oh, he's 60. Boy, he's a kid. Look at him coming. Some guy 85 whipping the ball from third base. But I think that is the amazing thing, is that people just demonize medication. And look, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't like taking aspirin, let alone with the stuff that I take now. But if it gets me through the front door and out the front door with my wife, and she doesn't have to carry me in a wheelchair, we have to have some apparatus installed in our apartment, then I'm grateful for them, because if they weren't here, what would be happening?
Listen, there's a time and a place. Story. Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for everything, and everyone. And I think people like to live in extremes. I think it's maybe sometimes easier to mentally establish a space that you feel safe if you're either here or there. And I think that the beauty is really in the middle. I think that the things in moderation, the thing in the middle is where we can really find the most magic for most people. It's just like everybody has to be willing to come to that place. I guess it would be maybe called a compromise, and the compromise can only really work well if both people are compromising on that to meet in the middle. So I'm not even going to touch on big pharma or medication or anything of that sort. That is not my forte. It's not my expertise. It's not what I do. That's not our focus. But we're not trying to bash them. This is what we also say. One day we hope to be the Cure Fund, because hopefully these big, huge, massive, multi-billion-dollar companies will find a cure one day. We want that hope. We want that as much as anybody else does. It's not gonna help us succeed if they don't succeed. So I think it's a silly way to look at it. We definitely don't look at it. However, what's going to happen, and we just know this very realistically, that we hope to become the Cure Fund, because one day there will be a cure and there will be a medication, but that's going to cost. They're not going to hand it out for free. They're not. Right. And most likely, it could potentially come with some side effects. Again, I'm not saying anything like demonizing them, just simple facts. And those side effects will also come with certain products and services that will help alleviate them. So we are very happy, not very happy, I don't mean to say that. We're very comfortable and settled in to where we are, that our focus is immediate relief, very practical, immediate relief on a very easily achievable, tangible way. And one day we hope that focus can change to helping facilitate financial accessibility to a cure. So, I think again, it's there's a time and a place for everything. Everybody has their lane, and I think power and the magic would really be in more unity. And again, this is like so not me to sound so like airy fairy and la-di-da, but like the power and the beauty would really fall into like the unity of us all coming together to have both the everyday practical tangible relief as well as the big $1 billion dream of one day cure medication. I think there's space for all, and I think we all have to, like, in order for us to make the most impact, we have to come to a space where like they go hand in hand and they work together. I think it's very easily.
I agree.
That's exactly
100%.
thinking. Yeah, I mean, the Wellness Fund is actually a path for people to take until there's a cure, and I'm very proud to be associated with that. What I am experiencing is and it's been a long time. I've told this story before on Why I Rise. When my dad had a stroke, he was in a wheelchair, and I was wheeling him around. We were shopping for something. We were in Staples or something. We were getting him something, and we're wheeling, and I can hear my father grumbling. And I leaned down. I go, what's? I mean, he was fine. He just was physically, but his brain was all there, thankfully. And he says, no one looks at me. No one looks at me in the wheelchair. He said, no, it's like I don't exist. And there's a stigma sometimes, and I put that hand in hand with what I started at the beginning of the show of not being prepared. There are people, when my wife had cancer, there were people who would step back like it was contagious. And I don't know how to break that. I would love to find a way to break that and have everybody. That's why I want this show to kind of expand. I would like to reach more people to say, if you see somebody who is infirm in some way, don't diminish them. Take a look at them. I'm not saying you have to put your arm around them and help them, but all my dad wanted was a smile. Somebody look down and smile, and people won't do that. And they're not mean. It's just this mindset that I better stay away from this because I don't want this.
I think it's just it's a look at what could be, and that could be scary for people, and people don't want to go mentally in their minds that the reality of that these things can happen. And I think it's a protective mechanism on their behalf, and I don't know that so many people are aware of what it feels like to be on the other side of it. So I think that in breaking the stigma, I think that it comes a few ways. I think support and open support and community for people is massive and huge, and giving voices to people. And really, again, I think getting people out of their crisis states and allowing them to even come up for air to say like, oh, hey, I can be a picture and a voice for this, so that people can get a little bit more comfortable. People aren't as scared of it. People can treat me like the human being that I am, meet me where I am as just somebody who's going through a hard time. I think that's what needs to happen. And just creating space for it, really, just saying, and open honesty, like, for your dad to say that, you might never have had that in your mind had he not pointed that out to you. So it's just people speaking, again, my father-in-law was very, 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 very secretive for many years because he was worried about how people would perceive him because of it. And I think he was pleasantly surprised once he did open up. I don't know if I may be speaking out of turn, and I maybe shouldn't speak for him, but I don't know that anybody ran away from him as a result. I don't think that was actually the reality of what happened when he did come out to speak about it. And when he has been in a little bit more crisis states or whatever, people have been really kind, and people really have come through to show up. And I think it's just us within ourselves being a little bit more comfortable to voice and be vocal about what we need, and then allowing people to either show up where and how they can, or accepting that they're just limited, for whatever reason. We all have our stuff. But I think speaking about it openly and making it not such a write-off sentence, which it's really, really not. People can live so many years of such a beautiful life. still, and do so many things. We keep talking about my father. Like he's. I hope he might get so mad at me for speaking about him so much, but he might also secretly love it. He'll tell me he doesn't like it, but he'll actually really love it. So,
Yeah, I would go with this. I would go with the latter.
he went this past December to Carnegie Hall, and he's staying with his men's choir in Carnegie Hall, and like he's 20 years into his diagnosis. Like that's significant, and he's still living on a lifelong dream and experience. And I think those kind of messages and those kinds of pictures we can and should paint a lot more than potentially the other side of it.
Yeah. Allow me to interject here,
yeah, please.
Vinny, if I can.
Talking too much.
No, you're not at all. This is about you. This is not about us.
No.
Seriously, you're the guest. It's about you, so don't worry about talking for whatever. But I did want to do two things. One thing I definitely feel, I'm a person that says hi to everybody and anybody. I walk on the street and just say hi. The reason being is that one day somebody said to me, I heard somebody on the radio say, just say hi to people. You'd be surprised how many people are in a daze. They're in their phone. They're walking down the street. And when you become a person who can't necessarily like walk and chew gum, jokingly I'm saying that, it's like, I can do three things, but if I try to do that fourth thing, wham, my feet just lock up and I'm on the ground face first. Right. So I got to pay attention to what I'm doing. And my boss, got me this great walking stick. And so I noticed that when people see you coming, they're immediately going, all right, now if they say hi to you and you go, bah humbug, that's bad on you. And now you wonder why people won't talk to you, because you don't give them the reaction they're looking for, which is expectations, and we should all have none.
Right.
But the reality is that when you say to somebody, hey, how are you? And in the case of your dad would go, well, I'm good. What are you? And your dad would probably want to have a 20-minute conversation with him, Vin. And so you were given a gift long time ago, before any of this came to fruition, which was, if you get the opportunity, son, to talk to somebody in a wheelchair, do it. Yeah. Just like my wife said to me when she traveled alone with her two daughters. Now Amy's going to roll her eyes and go, I've got 4 kids, but Heidi was on the plane. It was a packed plane on Southwest, and everybody was getting off at Burbank. And she had the stroller, and she had Claire, who was ready to go bolt down the aisle with her backpack on. And this guy goes, hey, can I just carry the kid's car seat and you can carry the kid? And she goes, yeah. And he walked off the plane, and he got all the way in the terminal, and he gave her the thing, and he said, thanks a lot. Mm-hmm. When I came through the door, she goes, you better for the rest of your life help somebody on a plane, because this man helped me. And I'm like, hey, who's this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, should I be worried?
Right.
She's like, knock it off. But she's like, this guy did something out of the kindness of his heart, and it's going to stick with me forever. So when you see somebody I literally have gone to the point where people have gone, is this guy a lunatic? I come on, do you need me to hold your baby? Like, no, I don't need you to hold my baby, but I've been on
maybe
flights.
Take the grocery bag, not my baby. Like maybe that.
Yeah, exactly. I've been on international flights in first class or business class where somebody's child would not stop crying, and the mom said, "I just want to get some sleep," and the lady next to her goes, "Well, here, just total stranger." Yeah. We all took turns walking the baby up and down the aisle.
Yeah.
Right.
And the mom just slept, and I thought, that is a village, that is community. Why don't we have more of that? What are we afraid of? Because people are afraid they're going to get the wrong answer for trying to stick their neck out. And when you burn somebody they're doing a good deed, you burn a really bad situation, because that could have been a warrior for good, and now they're just going to be like, yeah, I see a guy in a wheelchair, I cross the street because I don't want to hear some guy grumble about how he can't walk, and how am I having a good day, because I'm not having a good day and life sucks. And
right.
It's the same attitude. And you go back to talking about finding the positive, Amy. It's like people would, when I would do interviews or talks, I'd always try to say, remember to say, I have good days and I have better days. Because if I'm alive, that's pretty much a good day. It could be a ton of problems that go with it that are all external, but the reality of it is that I can choose how I want to show up. If I want to show up miserable and slap Vinny's hand away because I don't want to shake his hand, or I don't want him to touch my shoulder and acknowledge that I'm still a human being, well, that's on me. That's not on him. That's not on anybody passing by. But when you choose to show up in a very particular way, it responds. And I learned that from somebody. That's not from me just coming up with this, these gems of life. Mm-hmm. But it's the idea of giving to the opportunity to see what it's like to not be fear-based, to not be to be a love-based situation. And I'm telling you, just the exercise of going down the street saying hi to people. I've had women stop and start chatting me up with my wife on the other side of the car. They're going, "So what are you doing for lunch? We've got some cold cuts, and they're joking, but the interaction would have never happened if one of us didn't say hello.
Right.
So I believe you're going to get a lot more good out of it than you'll ever get bad.
Well, you practice that, JM. Amy, I'd be walking with JM, and the area he used to live in, there was a lot of tree roots coming up through the sidewalk. And one of these days, like I feel close enough to JM that I can tell him, "Wow, you're having a great day,"
Mm.
because he's just himself. And then I can see the days he's struggling. And we were out one day when we were struggling, and somebody was coming this way, and there was the route, and he's going, "Okay, everybody stop." And the humor and the openness of the fact that he had to take shorter steps to get over
Yep.
the thing. You were talking about the face. I mean, I vote for this guy to be that face because he opens up to everybody, and people are like children. They're like, "Oh wow, oh he's talking. Yeah, he's shuffling a little slow, but it's JM. I've known him for 30 years,
Right.
and I think you are the face in a lot of ways, JM, because you're very open about what you have, and like you said, your father-in-law hid it for many many years, and I know people who've told me on a secretive level that they have
Mm.
some sort of whatever going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, yeah, everybody chooses to live the way they want to, but I,
Sure.
I really think those people are isolating themselves by not coming out and saying, wow, this is what I've got. And I'm kind of struggling with the concept of having it, let
Right.
alone the physical what I have. And I think that the Wellness Fund is a perfect place too, where people can say, hey, I need this. And you can say, we can provide it or you can't.
Yeah.
And I just think that we all three of us keep coming back to community,
Mm-hmm.
and to remove the stigma that something's contagious, or to even have people come out like JM does and say, this is what I have and this is what I'm struggling with. It just makes it all relatable.
Totally.
And yeah,
I
and,
agree.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
talking
I
deep,
yeah.
deeper, and yeah,
I
please.
think there's a big change. I think there's a huge shift from the older generations, our parents, our grandparents, to where we are now. I think people are again very open about many things. I think it's definitely changing and shifting just organically, and people are way more comfortable speaking openly about their mental states, their physical states. And I think that the picture of what Parkinson's used to be, maybe only older at end of life as it is, I think we are all seeing rapidly that's changing. Early onsets being diagnosed at higher rates, and I think that these younger individuals are also much more comfortable speaking about it. I think we're getting there. I think that's changing very drastically, and I think that we are very much coming to a different place. And as a result of that, community and support definitely will be a much bigger, better,
Yeah.
prevalent component. And again, it is out there. It really is out there. And because of the time and era that we're in technology wise, it's very accessible for the vast majority of people. There's lots of Zoom classes, lots of recorded things, lots of meetups, virtual meetups. And
Tons of podcasts like Why I Rise.
yeah, the podcast Why I Rise, to hear people speaking candidly about it. All of these things are just, I think, positively going to impact those that may potentially feel isolated to not necessarily feel isolated anymore. But yeah, it's
I do
Well,
agree.
let me just add one wrinkle, Vinny, because I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. And again, I'm hinting at something you may not be able to talk about. So, what's on the horizon for PFW? What's going on with PFW's next steps, maybe?
sure. So thank you. Yeah, so because we've been working in this space for the past 15, 16 years and really been dealing with individuals on a daily basis of what they need on a daily basis, we really see that care coordination is a huge component that's missing in this time and era, and we're really focusing on building something of that sort. With that comes also, with that package comes support, with that comes community, with that comes resources. So we will definitely keep you guys posted, but we're
Please.
mainly, PWF is focused on our grants. our individual grants that we give, and then as something bigger is coming along, we are going to be focused more on the care coordination side of things, on a larger scale, because it's a real need, a real necessity, and I think a lot of people could benefit hugely from it. It could bring a lot of relief and support for individuals.
It's really amazing, when you talk to people and you find out how little time they spend proactive. Again, this could be argued and I could be slammed to the floor, but the reality is that it seems like if you have this thing, you want to spend as much time on the website, PWF, to see what's available to you for free. But most of us are on, Candy Crush or some other thing that we're using on our devices. And granted, I'll be the first one to tell you, I will turn the TV on. If I start to feel like I just am really shut down, I'll turn the TV on because it'll zap my mind and it'll just take it into, rerun 3052 of Jerry Seinfeld, And so the idea is, and my wife will just go, why don't you just go take a walk, just break the pattern, just go out and take a walk. And I'm like, this is breaking the pattern, but it really isn't. It's creating a scenario that seems like, hey, I can shut my mind off, and when I shut my mind off and I just let this inane, funny humor come at me, I also am shutting down Parkinson's, but I'm not. The more still I am, the more sedentary I am, the worse it gets for the future. So with Parkinson's, the moment is now, and I say that, and a big hypocrite sign would go beep beep beep. This guy's full of shit, but it's not. It's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of knowledge. It's just for the fact that I have the same fears that everybody else has. I'm not, Joe Perfect. I'm not, this guy that's going to come in and go, well, if you take 2 of these and 5 of those, and you run 60 miles a day, and you ride your cycle, and then you swim. I look at all these guys that these incredibly well healthy guys. That's not the majority of Parkinson's people. Parkinson's people are not going to go and take 17 or 18 supplements a day and then 3 times a day and drink this dirty water and do all this kind of hydrogenated stuff because it's not in their budget. It's not in my budget, and I'm being given sometimes the opportunity to try some of these things to see if they work for me. Because everybody has a homeopathic cure to Parkinson's, but I mean, how do you get folks who don't have the incredible athleticism of some of the guys that you've met on our show? I mean, there's like 4 guys on our show, Greg, and there's what's the young guy that just ran the Christian, and then there's the younger kid who's down the San Diego way. Vinny, we were mesmerized by this young guy, how fit he was. He said he was like at 300 pounds and he lost all this weight.
Oh, right.
And I look at those guys and I'm like, my goodness, you guys are incredible. And 2 of those guys do not have Parkinson's, I believe.
Right.
Only one of them does. But the idea that you can still, I used to go to a Parkinson's boxing class, and it was one of the best physical shape, not to mention mental states that I was in. But the pandemic really decimated not only my fear base, but also the class was destroyed. And it's never the same when you do it in person versus Zoom.
Right.
But there was a guy that he had to be close to 7, maybe he was in his mid 60s. Former Marine, did this thing with these karate sticks that he demonstrated, all this with Parkinson's, and his bicep had to be the size of a softball. And I was like, what do you do? And he goes, I just do a lot of push-ups. And I'm like, how many? 1,000 a day? I mean, and again, he was probably predisposed to having good physique, as I think some of this stuff is genetic. But the idea that
it takes a lot of work.
Okay, how do you communicate with the people like me that are going to go, oh, I'm going to look at that guy. Oh, Amy, well, I could do that, but that guy's a millionaire. I don't have $1 million. What do you got next? Oh, that guy's in incredible shape. Well, that guy's 27. Or my Parkinson's brain will go, let's find an excuse. Here's your excuse. Here's your slip to go see the principal.
Right.
You're out. And so the idea is, from your end, how would you tell people to not be apathetic and to come to the website and see what we've got to offer and know that it's at no cost to you to hang out there as long as you'd like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not going to cost anything, maybe a little bit of time of your day to come look at the website, but it's really just, I think I said this already, it's really meeting the person where they are. So JM, you being very honest about the fact that you're not going to go run 55 miles. There's also so many components to this. One, we all have our own limitations, and it's up to us to decide when and how to push those. It's not for me to tell somebody how they should be living their life, especially with Parkinson's or a diagnosis or anything that sort. Our website certainly is free, and it's up to the individual. Oftentimes they'll ask me, well, what can I get? What can I get for this grant? And I'm like, well, you tell me. Why don't you explain to me what your day-to-day biggest need is? If that is a walker, then I'm welcoming you to tell me what it is that you need. I can't tell you what you need because I don't know on a day-to-day basis what your life is looking like. So I think, again, I'll just conflate again the beauty of our grants is for the individual to come to us and let them know, let us know. And then we meet them where we can with it. And we say, listen, we might not be able to do your full bathroom remodel, but we have this amount for it to go towards the overall cost. And that's in hopes that it will offset the overall cost. Or if you can't do a full bathroom remodel with our grant, why don't we look at the options of safety rails, a shower bench, installing non-slip mats. Like there really are so many things. JM, I just want to go back. You said you're very maybe about falling. You're worried about falling. Like I encourage you to also identify where around your home and your space you're the most worried, and focus in and like really just narrow in on that and see what could be helpful there. Because I think that there's a lot of different products. People are geniuses. People are thinking of everything. Like there is a product for everything. There's a product and a service for everything. So it's like, it's for you to just, okay, take this minute. Let me like assess without looking at huge picture, but let me narrow down.
We're all frozen?
No. Are you, are you?
You're back, but I think
Vinny,
I can't tell if Vinny's
Vinny
with us or not.
froze. Right.
I'm fine.
Oh, Vinny's not frozen. Vinny's great.
I'm listening.
So I think it's really just like having that somebody be able to say, take a minute, assess what it is that you immediately need that will provide you the most relief as possible with what we're able to grant you. And like, let us start there. And again, it may not be 24-hour care, but if we can bring in somebody who can help that daughter who's taking off work to take care of her mother, if we can give that daughter 5 hours a week so that she can go out to the groceries and not have to worry about her mother falling at home, like these little things also in a grand scheme just provide relief, and they provide somebody feeling supported. So, and I think those go a lot further than we give them credit for.
Well, I think that somebody who taps into the wellness fund for something, I think that some of the people who we're talking about who maybe a little bit more to themselves than some, they realize, wow, there's a lot of people like me, and I'm wondering if that. I'm just thinking that must be. You talk about relief. You're not only talking about relieving, physical issues.
Mentally, yeah.
You're somebody going, wow, there's a place and there's a person, and I really think that we live in LA. We live in the LA area, and a lot of times we don't know our neighbors and stuff. It's just kind of ourselves. But if you tap in and oh wow, I didn't realize this whole sea of people here. I think that will be emotionally give a nice emotional positive jolt that they know. Like you could probably finish their sentence, and they've never had anybody do that because you understand Parkinson so well. And I just think that it's so ACEs that we need to keep drawing people to.
I have an old saying that I've again, not my original saying, but I think it pertains to pretty much everything in life, but really just this: if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
So Parkinson's Wellness Fund is basically saying just ask the question and you may be able to answer it.
Yeah.
Just ask the question. As simple as that. One question. Hey, I need a walker. Okay, where do you live? I live in a trailer park. I live in an apartment complex. I live in a mansion. It doesn't matter who you are. It just matters what you need.
Yeah.
And so it's like, come up with your question and ask it. Like that should be a golf tournament campaign. Come up with your question and ask it, and see how many people ask the same or different questions.
Right.
Because 6 people, if you take 10 different people, you might get 10 different answers, but you'd be surprised how often somebody will go, oh, I can see that, and then it starts to group up. you know, and because when I was first diagnosed, believe it or not, I had a doctor say to me, well, the standard answer, you got 5 or 10 good years before you have to start worrying about it.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, you don't know me, dude. I was worrying about it yesterday and I hadn't even been diagnosed. So here I am, dude. Deal with this MFer,
Right.
you know. And so he literally he went. I went, well, what about, like, he's like, how old are your kids? And I said, I don't know how old they were at the time. Let's just say 10 and 7. And he goes, well, yeah, I wouldn't say anything to them. And I said, what?
Mm.
I go, these are my children. They may not comprehend it, but I don't hold back from my kids. I don't lie to my children.
Right.
And he goes, well, that's your choice. But he goes, I don't think they need to know about it until they need to know about it.
Mm.
And I said, okay, so does that mean I should probably join a young onset party? He goes, no. I'm like, why not? And he goes, because you'll see this guy. He's trying to talk to you, and he's doing this the whole time. Or you see this guy with the shaking hand, or you see this guy is just, and I'm like, but listen, if I'm going to possibly get there at some point in time, why not have that knowledge in my back pocket rather than addressing everything for the first time I see it?
Mm-hmm.
I get that don't worry about it. I'm not saying worry about it and then just go figure it out, but don't be afraid to learn things about what the disease does, or like, there was somebody just did a seminar on constipation and people go, this is a horrible topic. No matter where you go with this, it's just a shitty topic.
It's a pretty shitty topic.
There you go. But what was interesting is that I think the first symptoms were not like my being exhausted.
Right.
I think the first symptoms were when I got what is known, and again, I'm going to go public with this, and it's going to sound terrible. These two words should never be together. An anal fissure. And I'm like, I never even heard that. What the hell is that? And they said somewhere along the line, an impacted stool. I don't want to be gross.
Yeah.
I'm not being gross. I'm trying to be clinical. But
Yeah.
what happened
We're
is
trying to have
that
the open
pain,
conversation so people aren't
Right.
isolated and feel
right,
uncomfortable.
the pain was so excruciating that I think the orderly, the doctor or his PA said, this is the closest a man can experience what a woman goes through in childbirth. The amount of pain. Because where it is it's the fulcrum of your body.
Sure.
When you're seated, it's like it's the fulcrum of your body.
Mm-hmm.
So when you sit down, everything lands on that thing, and it basically just it's like literally like a needle just being jabbed into your whatever, just
Sure.
pick
Your
something.
nether regions.
So I kept going to doctor after doctor, and I finally went to this doctor, and she took a look at it. She goes, yeah, you have an anal fissure, and I said, okay. And she goes, what do we do? She goes, we go surgically in. And we go all the way up to the anal wall muscle, and we just nick it, and it opens up a little bit. She goes, and don't worry, you won't have problems holding your bowels or anything like that. It'll just make the constipation go. And I'm like, okay, I already have a fissure, which who knows how big that crack is, no pun intended. So she said, yeah. So and Kevin Smith, who very publicly wrote about this in his book, went through exactly the same thing, and he asked this question. He goes, why would you have me surgically do something where there's already a cut? Why would you now have 2 cuts in there? And so I don't know how he remedied it, but my wife said, here, try this. And she brought it home from, my wife works in the holistic medicine world. And so, or alternative or natural, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Osteopath. Her doctors are all osteopaths.
Oh, amazing.
And she said, he said, wait a minute, let me back up. I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So my wife said to me, she goes, here, take this. This stuff called Natural Calm you can buy at Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, the more you take, the more it will liquidate everything to basically flush your system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily medically a good way to be in, but if you're having trouble closing a wound, it works for the temporary time. And I'm telling you, that was all done. I never had surgery. I do no longer have any pain. And it was not the most comfortable thing, but it was this unbelievably, without trying to do an enema or any of that kind of stuff that you would, constantly be having to work at it. You just take 3 scoops of this stuff, and all of a sudden one day, as my buddy says, tether to your home if that's the case, because you never know. You get out in the car and you got to go, and you're stuck in traffic on the 405 freeway in the middle lane. But the idea is that you can clean your system out and then reintroduce what you eat. But I think constipation is one of the first signs of Parkinson's.
And so,
It's one of the very early signs.
you were diagnosed, Jam?
Pardon me?
Did you go through all this before you were diagnosed?
So.
Absolutely, 100%.
So it's interesting because there is so many Parkinson's is being looked at so many different lenses now. They do say there are a lot of studies that are signaling that the gut it's actually more of a gut than it is a brain condition. So
Absolutely. Leaky gut syndrome is what creates it.
yeah, and then
And my
our
wife
gut
currently,
has way more neurotransmitters and all of than we've really ever delved into, and that the brain gets a lot of blame or focus for so many things that potentially like
right.
our gut is the brain of the body also. And but yeah, so it's
Well, if you think
interesting
about
you
it,
said that to tie that together. It makes sense. I definitely wouldn't discount that at all. Yeah.
Right.
to think about it, Amy, to your point is we always say, well, my body's doing it. I can't. Vinny's like, oh, my back is out. You know what? You know, we always talk about it, and I say we, I mean me. I always talk about it from the negative standpoint. It's like, my body can't do this. My wife says, well, why don't you thank your body for what it can do? The fact that you're standing up on this mountaintop, looking over the world, if you will, and all
Sure.
you got to do is traverse down, but your legs are feeling a little weak. Just be thankful for what you can do and not worrying about what you can't do. And that has became our motto for Vinny and I
Yeah.
really quickly on, because there's only so much you can do with worrying. And Michael J. Fox has coined a great phrase where he said, if you worry about something and it doesn't come to fruition, now you've wasted all that time worrying.
Right.
If you worry about something and in the off chance and a very small percentage of them do come into fruition, now you got to worry about it again.
Right.
So when somebody simply says, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, there you go. I understand what you're saying. I'll worry about it then.
Right.
If I even have to worry about it then. It may not even exist by the time we get to it.
Right.
But the idea that Vinny and I worked in a business, the entertainment industry, where you had to have 102, plan Bs. So it'd be like, all right, we'll do this. Usually plan A worked.
Right.
But if there's a plan B, like let's say it rained that day, you had to cover for that.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, if you get to plan C, well, all shit was going to break loose. Well, to go to having, I was taught you have an answer for everything. And I'm like, well, I'm not omnipotent. I don't know everything, and I can't necessarily answer everybody's questions.
Right.
But I can tell you from experience, this is what I've done.
Yeah.
I've done boxing. Do I think boxing is great for Parkinson's? 1,000%. Am I doing it? No. Because I make excuses like, we only have one car. We only do this. Or my bicycle, I can't bike that far. I'm in excuse land, and that's where I'm struggling, but I'm learning every day, and I'm getting better at it. But I'm telling you, I watch my wife go through these things to battle certain diseases that I gratefully don't have, but Vinny is very accustomed to. And I can tell you that just by watching it, sometimes it could be the energy that kicks you into doing it to yourself for yourself.
That's
I
right.
think that, I think we, whatever anybody's individual belief is, that there is something higher than us. I think there's no formula. I think, unfortunately, we would all just love a formula to a good life, and it would be so easy to follow step 1 through 10, and then it comes out of the other side of the machine. We punch it in. It doesn't work like that. I think that, we really have to take the responsible actions that we're able to. And sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. JM, I would also offer yourself just a little bit of grace here. It's just,
Yeah.
I think that you're very positive, but you're also giving yourself a hard time for not doing more. And I think to just give yourself a little bit of grace to think that if you needed to be doing more, and sure, we can all do more, you'll be given that ability to do more. And maybe right now, you just do what you can, and give yourself a little bit of credit and grace, and not always having to be I should be doing more. I need more. There is also, you do what you can, and then the rest really isn't up to us also. And there is a little bit of surrendering to that. It's not to say that it should be a cop out, and it's not to say that you shouldn't see everything that you can, but also you're not God yourself. You can't control it all.
Wait a minute, news alert. What did you just say? I'm not God.
Sorry, shoot.
I got to redirect. I got to redirect everything here because
Okay, I think I just ruined your relationship forever because
he's like he's not God.
in what you thought you were.
Well, I want to bring one thing to your point. And then I think we probably should let you go because we're a good hour and 15 minutes into what is a wonderful 3-hour conversation.
Yeah, sure we could.
To answer your comment about grace, is I've learned a word that is I think runs hand in hand with it is gratitude, and I've been able to be grateful for you, Amy, for you, Vinny, for my wife Heidi, for my daughters. I'm grateful for that, but it's so easy from coming where I came from, and I'm not making an excuse. I'm just bringing it to the forefront. And my wife would say, "Why even bring it to the forefront? Just don't even talk about it." But the idea is the skepticism and the anger and the fear and the just I mean, just every negative emotion that you could possibly conjure up, and some we don't even know about, was the way I lived my life. But I was successful. I was successful in that nonsense. But the question is, was I really successful? Or was I financially successful for a while and for a short while? And did I miss what was important, which is the moment right that you're in, like this moment. Even looking at the clock, I'd be like, oh, Amy's probably got a million things to do. And I'm like, and my gratitude brain would go, well, then either thank Amy now or let her end the conversation when she's ready, because it has nothing to do with you, JM. Just grateful you're in the room. Even though the God complex comes down every once in a while.
Yeah.
That, and that's again another thing. I'm Irish, Italian, Catholic. So you can put any combination together for the guilt there.
I was
You know
going
what I
to
mean?
say,
It's like,
whatever combination, guilt is for sure going to come out.
oh, without a doubt.
You know what? You
So,
could use it sometimes to drive yourself forward, but don't use it to, beat yourself up either. If it works to get yourself from point A to point B in a productive way, use it, but also like give yourself, I think you're doing really well, and I think that you should give yourself a lot of credit, and I think just be a little bit kind for yourself and a little bit kind to yourself and just do what you can and be grateful for what you can, and then also acknowledge sometimes it is what it is and feel it, and then it passes, but when you try to fight it, sometimes it makes it a little bit bigger. So if you can just I think.
Well, before we go, I'd like to just throw this out there, and we can chat with Russell about it. But I think it would be fun, Amy, if, based on your schedule,
Sure.
if we could come out and have like Amy's Corner or Amy's, announcements or Amy's opinions or whatever we call it. But the idea of, keeping you grounded to or tethered to us, is a good thing, because, we talk about these things, but sometimes we don't have the either the knowledge or the reference point that you can bring to it. With somebody who needs a ramp to get into their house, somebody who needs a bicycle, somebody who needs 5 hours a week of care to do the laundry and do the grocery shopping. Those are things that are important that we can lose sight of because we're trying to talk about, okay, like Udi, who came to us from Israel and taught us how to walk using the chair exercises. It was great, but he was like, to get him back to do this, you got to go to his website because he's got his own thing. So we want to kick to everybody that comes and visit to us. We want to give them a bump if we can.
Sure.
We also want to kind of create our own stuff where we can basically drive people to. So think about that. You and Russell can chat about it, and then
Sure.
if not, we'll just move on to the next one.
Sounds good. I love it.
Well, I just want to give you a compliment, Amy. I just think you have this, you're perfectly cast. You have this rare ability that you can speak the truth, but you still come off as soft and compassionate. It's really a nice quality to have in the arena that you're in, because you do that. You speak kindly, but you don't mince words, and that works. I thought that was awesome from the minute I met you, and you just did it again for an hour. So we really do appreciate you and all you and Russell do, and everything we can do to help. We want to do, and we just want people to know about Parkinson's Wellness Fund, all one word.com. Go.
Yep.
Visit the site and see what's being offered to you. And like Amy says, you got to speak up, because if you go there and you don't say anything, you don't get anything.
Right.
So we want everyone to go to the website and check out what is available to them.
Absolutely. Parkinson'sWellnessFund.org. Email me, Amy at Parkinson's. Yeah, it's okay. Amy at Parkinson'sWellnessFund.org. Email me. I'm available. It's just a matter of poking and saying hi, I'm here, and I will do everything that I can to help service the individuals that reach out to me and meet them exactly where they need whatever product or service to just help on their daily living life basis, and offer as much relief and support as we can in whatever stage that individual is in. So I thank you guys so much. Really, really, I think you bring such a great humor and personality to the subject, And yeah, we're so grateful to have you in our corner and our team, and let's just keep doing great things together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Likewise,
Hey, everybody
gratitude.
watching, you're already on your computer or you're already on your phone. As soon as we shut down, go right to parkinsonswellness.org.
Wellnessfund.org. Parkinson's Wellness Fund.org.
Parkinson'sWellnessFund.org. Yep,
Wellnessfund.org.
one word
So
It
there.
should be flashing
go
on the
there.
screen like 25%, like Crazy Eddies, Parkinson's Relief Fund. But anyways, Amy, grateful to have you on the show, and I
Thank
really
you
do think that
guys.
we can talk to you as many times as we possibly can because you've got so much information.
Mm.
Thank you for doing what you do. That's from a person with Parkinson's. And so, you give me a hope. You give me a chance to believe that there is something
Wow.
out there to keep myself going. Because if you don't have that, then what's the point?
Right.
Got
And
it.
everybody should have that, and everybody can have it. It's just a matter
That's
of,
right.
of knowing that it's accessible. So I think that's the biggest message, is that it is there for the taking, and getting that message out there, that the awareness, really, really the awareness. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll do this again
Thank you.
another
God
time.
bless.
Bet.
Right.
Amy, great.
See you guys all again.